like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so you guys sent in this article about Family Feud, and honestly, I gotta say, I was not prepared for this. This particular brand of family fun.
Oh, really?
What happened?
Well, a recent episode went crazy viral, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's just say it involved this survey question, and well, it's making people wonder if Family Feud is officially jumped the shark.
Sounds kind of intriguing. You gonna tell me more? I'm all ears.
All right. Let's unpack this thing. So the article, it's called Family Feud Fans Blast Show After Stupidest and Weirdest Question Ever. So right off the bat, we're in for a wild ride.
Indeed. Okay, let's hear it. What was all the fuss about?
So picture this. Steve Harvey, right? He's up on stage and he's, trying his best to keep it together, keep a straight face while he reads this question. Name something a cheap guy might use to pierce his own nipple.
Whoa. Okay, yeah. I'll admit, even I'm raising an eyebrow at that one. Not exactly dinner table conversation, huh? Right, who comes up with these survey questions? And it gets worse, way worse. You ready for this? Let's go through the top answers, okay?
Okay.
From the show. Number 2 was pin, which I guess in a pinch.
Desperate times, desperate measure.
Exactly. Then we have needle at the top. Okay, again, not ideal, but at least it's, slightly less cringy than what's coming next.
Oh, okay. You got me hooked now. What could possibly be worse than a needle?
Okay, so the third answer was nail. At this point, I'm seriously starting to question the sanity of anyone involved in this survey.
Yeah.
But brace yourself, because the final answer, the one that really takes the cake, is stapler.
A stapler. Oh, dear. I mean, even if they were going for humor, that seems wildly unsafe and, frankly, a bit disturbing.
Right. I mean, ouch.
Yeah.
Just the thought of it makes me shudder. And of course, the internet had a field day with this. The article, it highlights some of the wildest viewer comments, and they did not hold back. One person wrote, "I've seen a lot of dumb questions on this show, but this one takes the trophy as the stupidest and weirdest question ever asked."
Wow. Yeah, they didn't mince words, did they? Seems like this question really hit a nerve.
Absolutely. And another viewer, they chimed in with, is it worse than, which of the 7 dwarfs describe your wife in bed? At this point, I'm not even sure what's worse.
Okay, that second question is definitely a contender for most inappropriate, for sure. It does seem like Family Feud might be, walking a fine line between funny and just plain offensive.
Totally. And some viewers were just totally baffled.
Huh.
One just wrote, "Bruh, what TF is this question?" Another one added, "These questions are getting dumber and dumber." I mean, you got to admit, there's a certain entertainment value in seeing just how low they can go.
Right. Well, there's definitely that whole train wreck curiosity thing happening here, but it does raise a good point about, the direction of the show. Are they just going for shock value now over, actual entertainment? Or is that what people want these days?
It's a good question. And it's not like Family Feud is a stranger to controversy. Remember that time they asked?
Oh, yeah. How could we forget? But this nipple piercing thing, yeah, this seems to have sparked a particularly strong reaction, maybe because...
It's a little too close to home.
Yeah.
I mean, joking about hypothetical situations, okay, that's one thing. But body modification, that's pretty personal.
You got a point. There's a level of discomfort here that goes way beyond just a silly game show question. It taps into our own anxieties about
pain, bodily autonomy, maybe even our own insecurities about cheapskates.
All of the above, maybe. It's pretty fascinating how this one question can, unearth so many complex emotions and societal anxieties even.
Yeah. And that's not even getting into the whole debate about whether Family Feud is running out of ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think they're, scraping the bottom of the barrel with questions like this?
It's an interesting question to think about. I mean, Family Feud has been a staple of television, right? For decades. It's got to be tough for those writers to constantly come up with fresh stuff, engaging survey questions that, resonate with a modern audience.
Especially in the age of social media, right?
Yeah.
Where everything needs to go viral. I mean, maybe they thought this question would be shocking enough and fun enough to get people talking.
Yeah. Perhaps. But at what cost, though? I mean, this whole thing, it makes you wonder about the role of game shows in our culture today. Are they just purely for entertainment, or should they, strive for some level of intellectual value?
That's a great question. I mean, on the one hand, you've got shows like Jeopardy, right? That really test your knowledge and make you think. But then you have shows like Family Feud that are more about, lighthearted fun. and relatable answers. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, it's complex. There's a long history of game shows, pushing the boundaries, testing the limits of good taste even. But in the age of instant outrage and cancel culture, the stakes are definitely higher.
For sure. And it seems like Family Feud might be caught in the crossfire, trying to, appeal to both sides of the spectrum.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act. And judging by the backlash to this whole nipple-piercing question, they might have misjudged the audience's tolerance for this type of humor, I think.
So what does this all mean for the future of Family Feud? Is this like a sign the show is jumping the shark? Or is it just a harmless blip?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Only time will tell if this has any lasting impact on the show's popularity. But it serves as a reminder that even the most beloved game shows, they need to evolve and adapt to stay relevant.
Especially in today's constantly changing media landscape, right? Where viewers have endless entertainment options at their fingertips. I mean, if Family Feud wants to keep its crown, they're going to need to carefully consider their approach to humor and audience engagement.
Well said. And who knows, maybe this whole nipple-piercing debacle will inspire them to come up with some truly creative questions, hilarious ones even, ones that don't make us question the sanity of humanity.
One can only hope. But in the meantime, this episode has given us plenty to, ponder about the state of game shows and the kind of entertainment we value as a society.
Indeed. It's a pretty fascinating microcosm of our cultural anxieties and desires.
And on that note, let's take a closer look at the fallout from this particular episode.
Yeah.
Because it didn't end with just online commentary.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that online, they think Family Feud is running out of ideas, and resorting to just shock value to try to stay relevant.
Yeah, totally. The article had tons of comments like that. One person even said, I've got to say, Family Feud is running out of questions. And then somebody else was like, running low on questions, maybe? It really does make you think.
Well, think about it. They've been on TV for how long? Decades and decades. I mean, how many survey questions could they have possibly gone through at this point? It has to be a challenge to constantly come up with fresh material.
Especially these days.
Yeah.
With the pressure to go viral. And maybe they just thought this whole nipple-piercing question would be shocking enough to, generate some buzz online.
Yeah, maybe. But it also makes me wonder about the bigger picture. What even is the point of a game show like Family Feud anymore? Is it just pure entertainment, or should we expect something, more?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got shows like Jeopardy, right? Where you actually have to think and stuff. But then you have shows like Family Feud that are more about just having a laugh and seeing how relatable the answers are.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's that relatability factor that makes for the best Family Feud moments.
Right.
You get those unexpected answers. Or the ones that are just so hilarious that everyone at home is like, oh my gosh, I totally would have said that too.
Absolutely. But in this case, the question itself was so out there that it kind of overshadowed the contestants' responses. It became more about the shock value than the humor.
Right. And that also brings up the whole question of audience participation, because Family Feud really relies on its audience, right, to provide those funny and relatable answers. But then how much does that influence the questions they decide to ask?
Yeah, it's like this weird feedback loop. The audience wants to see crazy answers. So then the show asks increasingly crazy questions. And then, of course, everyone goes online to argue about whether or not it went too far.
Exactly. So then where do you even draw the line? When does a silly question become just plain dumb? And can you even please everyone these days?
I honestly think it just depends on who's watching, Some people probably thought this whole nipple piercing thing was hilarious, but then others were, understandably, offended.
That's the thing about humor, right? It's so subjective. What one person finds funny, someone else might find totally offensive. It's always changing, too. It's a really interesting thing to think about.
Totally. And maybe that's part of what makes this whole situation so interesting. It kind of forces us to think about our own ideas of what's okay and what's not.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that even something as simple as a game show can reflect these big, complex issues in our culture.
So what do you think? Did Family Feud take it too far this time? Or was it all in good fun?
Honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer. It's really just a matter of perspective and personal taste. But you can't deny that people are talking about it, and maybe that's all that really matters.
True. But did they ever even, figure out the stapler answer? Did either family get it right?
You know what? They didn't. They got the pin, the needle, and the nail, but the stapler. Nope. it remain a mystery. Maybe it's for the best.
Probably. I'm not sure I could handle hearing any more DIY piercing ideas.
Some things are better left to the imagination. But this whole thing does make you think, like, is there a point where a game show becomes too reliant on shock value?
Right. Like if they just keep pushing it further and further, will people eventually stop watching? Or will there always be an audience for that kind of like over-the-top entertainment?
That's a really fascinating question. And I think it speaks to this bigger trend we're seeing. Like, we're constantly bombarded with so much information and entertainment these days that it takes something pretty extreme to even get our attention. It's almost like we've become desensitized to anything that's like normal or ordinary.
So what's the answer then? Do game shows need to like tone it down? Or is that just how things are now?
It's tough because on one hand, they need to stay relevant, right? And keep up with the times. But if they go too far, they risk losing their audience.
So then how do you even find that balance? How do you create a show that's fun and entertaining, but also makes you think, without having to resort to all these cheap tricks and shock tactics?
It really comes down to understanding who your audience is, I think, and knowing what kind of humor will actually work for them. It's about being funny and relatable, but without sacrificing your integrity or going for that really lowbrow kind of humor.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you be clever and witty without crossing the line into something that's offensive or exploitative?
Exactly. It's tricky, for sure. But I do think it's possible to create a show that's both entertaining and meaningful, something that can make us laugh, but also make us think at the same time.
And maybe that's the real takeaway from this whole Family Feud thing.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even when we're talking about something that's supposed to be light and fun, there's always room for nuance and, thoughtfulness.
Well said. And it's a challenge not just for game shows, but for all of us. Like, as consumers of media, we need to be more aware of the kind of content we're supporting and engaging with.
Absolutely. So on that note, let's maybe shift gears a bit and see what else this article has to offer. Because there's a lot more here than just the nipple piercing stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, right, how this one question about, like, nipple piercing on Family Feud has turned into this whole conversation about, well, so much more.
You know what gets me? It's how this whole thing, this incident, it shows that like tension game shows always have, trying to be, light and fun, but they're also part of this bigger picture, this like cultural context.
Right. It's like they're holding up a mirror or something to like society.
Yeah.
Reflecting our values and stuff, anxieties, even our sense of humor, like you said.
Exactly. And with this nipple piercing thing, it seems like maybe they touched a nerve. People are questioning, what we see on TV, how far you can take humor, even what entertainment like is anymore.
The article, it talks about that idea that Family Feud is maybe running out of ideas.
Yeah.
And using shock value just to stay relevant. Do you buy that? Is there any truth to that?
It's a good point to consider. Family Feud, it's been around forever, right? Like, it has to be hard to come up with new questions all the time, engaging ones at least.
Yeah, especially now, right? There's so much pressure to go viral. Feels like every show is fighting for our attention, and they'll do anything to, like, stand out.
Yeah, but then, like, where's the line? Is it worth, sacrificing quality or even good taste just for, like, a few laughs and some shares online?
That's the tough part. Because humor, it's so subjective.
Right.
What I think is funny, someone else might find, like, totally offensive.
Right. That's the challenge, right? For shows like Family Feud, you got to be funny and relatable, but you can't, like, push away too many people.
Tough balance.
Yeah.
And from the reaction, all this reaction to the nipple piercing question, seems like maybe they went too far.
Maybe, but even if it was a misstep, right? It's gotten us talking, this whole thing, about what game shows like mean in our culture and what kind of entertainment like we actually value.
It really has made us think about humor going viral and that balance between entertainment and responsibility.
Yeah. And in the end, it's really up to us, right, the viewers. What kind of shows do we want to support?
Right. Shows that make you think and challenge you. Or are we fine with like just cheap laughs and all the shock value stuff?
The choice is ours. And hopefully this deep dive, it gave you something to think about as you figure out this whole crazy world of entertainment.
It definitely has for me. And who knows, maybe the folks at Family Feud are listening too.
Here's hoping, right? Because I think we all win when entertainment is, engaging and thought-provoking.
I totally agree. So, last question. If you were running Family Feud, what kind of questions would you come up with? What would your dream game show look like?
Those are great questions. And I hope you keep thinking about them. Keep exploring and thinking critically about the media you take in.
Because even a silly game show, right,
Yeah.
can get these important conversations going and challenge us to really think about the world.
So until next time, keep diving deep, everybody, and keep asking questions.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.